Giving feedback can be tricky, from trying to figure out exactly what you want to say to figuring out the right tone, the right time, the right place, and also just trying to figure out what to do when that feedback isn't received in the way that you want to give it. And so, one of the ways to set yourself up for success when giving feedback is by being really intentional about the type of feedback you are giving. Now, it's easy to say you want to give positive feedback, you want to stay away from negative feedback. But when you are in that position where you are sharing feedback, whether it is you're the manager and you're giving it to a direct report, you're giving feedback up, or you're giving it to a peer, you need to be really intentional about how you give that feedback. And that act of being intentional is part of the thoughtfully fit practice of strength, or consciously choosing how you want to give that feedback. So, one of the ways to consider what type of feedback you're giving is to consider the five different types of feedback. And so, let's go through what those five different types of feedback are. In no particular order, the first one is evaluation. This is typically what it looks like during annual performance reviews. When you are measuring performance based on specific standards. If there aren't specific standards, the evaluation can be trickier because we want to be clear. Here are the expectations, the standards for the job, and here's how you're measuring up or not measuring up. The next type of feedback is correction. This is when something is not going correctly. There are errors, there are mistakes, and something needs to be corrected. Something needs to change. And so when you're giving this type of feedback, you're being very clear. Here's what is going incorrectly, and here's what needs to happen instead next time. Now, correction is very different from suggestion. And suggestion is when you offer alternatives or advice. It's not that they did it wrong. You are providing a suggestion or a tip, or here's something that might make it easier. And when you provide that suggestion, there's not necessarily any expectation that they're going to take that suggestion. You are offering that feedback purely as a suggestion. The next type of feedback then is praise. Who doesn't like praise, right? But even praise can sometimes be seen as negative feedback if it's done in a way that maybe feels condescending, or sometimes if somebody is not necessarily feeling great about their performance, and then they receive praise instead of hearing how they're feeling about it. Um, so while most of the time praise is usually received well, even praise is one of those that needs to be applied to the right circumstance and situation. And then finally, again, in no particular order, is reflection. Looking at reflection is recognizing that, okay, there's a discussion to be had here. But you might, as the feedback giver, not know exactly what the answer is to this situation. So, for example, if somebody is struggling with their workload or prioritizing, yeah, you might be able to, there might be a correction if something is blatantly obvious that they need to be working on this and you're giving them that specific direction. Give them suggestions. But oftentimes, what's more helpful is letting them know, hey, I see the struggle here. Let's talk this through. What needs to happen here? If you have the right answer, by all means, tell them the right answer. Don't make them guess. But there are oftentimes situations where there isn't necessarily a right answer. And for the true impact to happen, for a change to be made, more reflection is necessary than a one-way dialogue. So here's the question, which one is best? And as you might guess, of course, it depends on the situation. All of these types of feedback have the potential to be the best type of feedback for that situation. And these types of feedback, all five of these, also have the opportunity to maybe not land in the way that you want them to. So, once again, this is about strength. It's about consciously choosing. It's taking that moment to pause and to think, what's the best type of feedback for this situation? What's going to have the most impact? And so, in order to choose the right feedback, think about your goal. What are you looking for by sharing this feedback? And then here's the main takeaway. be transparent with the type of feedback you are giving. So if you are giving a correction, be clear that this is the change you want to see. This is the change in behavior or process or whatever it might be. Sometimes we think we are giving a correction, but it's perceived as a suggestion. And the flip can be true as well. Sometimes we give a suggestion and people think it's a correction when in fact that wasn't necessarily the intention. Sometimes you give praise, and sometimes the Oreo cookie method of feedback, where you say something good, you give feedback, and then you say something good after that. Sometimes people can just sort of get locked in on the praise and they miss the correction that you're giving in the middle. Um, and so when you are giving feedback, it is helpful if you are transparent that I am giving you this as a suggestion. That even if you're the boss and there's a power dynamic there, you're being clear. I'm giving this to you as a suggestion. Truly, do with it what you want with it. Only say that though if you actually mean it. If there's a correction that needs to be made, be clear. Here's something that needs to change. I need to see this be different moving forward. And if you're moving into that reflection, if you are saying, hey, okay, let's talk this through. Don't start with reflection if you know you're going to end up with a correction. If you want to do both, start with the correction and say, hey, here's the standard that needs to be met. Here's the expectation that I have. Here's the behavior that we need to see that needs to be corrected. Now, maybe we can have some reflection, some coaching questions on what needs to happen to meet that standard. But regardless of the type of feedback you're giving, again, all of them are appropriate in different situations. The key is to be clear and transparent with the feedback that you are giving in order to achieve that impact that you are looking to have. If you are interested in learning more about feedback, let us know. This is one of the things that can be tricky for managers and for organizations to be able to share that feedback in an effective way. Being able to receive feedback is an entirely different topic on its own. And so it's not uncommon for teams to get some training, for leaders to get some training on how to best give and receive that feedback. If you have any questions or if you want to learn more about what that could look like for your organization, please don't hesitate to reach out. We would love to work with you.